know, that they didn't take it voluntarily.
Call into order the Plan and Zone Commission meeting of today, November 4th. I hope you all voted, one way or another. We'll start off with roll call. Commissioner Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dunlop. Eichelberry.
Here.
Hebner. Here. Johnson. Tallman here. Ingram.
Present.
Manus.
Here.
Garrington.
Here.
Schilling.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. First, I'd like to apologize that we're in this room with a lack of amenities, but we'll get through it. Report of City Council activity, Laura?
Nothing to report. We didn't have anything on last cycle.
Okay. Secretary's report.
Move report.
Second.
All in favor of the report as printed, signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it will stay as printed. Comp plan, anything, Laura?
Nothing new at this time.
Okay, thank you. Zoning activity, we have one item. It's case ORD 25-03. Request of Leverage Holdings LLC to amend table 17.08-1 use matrix of the City of Davenport zoning ordinance to allow wholesale establishments as a permitted use in the C3 General Commercial Zoning District for all wards. Staff recommends the Plan and Zoning Commission accept the listed 5 findings and forward case ORD 25-03 to the City Council with a recommendation for approval subject to the 5 findings and 3 listed conditions, and I so move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for discussion. Matt?
Well, thank you. So we'll be talking about case ORD 25, changing wholesale establishments as permitted use in C3. The purpose is to allow wholesale to operate in our C3 district. Previously, we put out public notice on Quad City Times. We have not received any public feedback. As a reminder, C3 is intended to accommodate larger or higher intensity commercial development, things that may generate considerable traffic, thinking about large box stores, for example. Wholesale is currently allowed in our light industrial, general industrial, and then mixed industrial by special use. As a reminder, wholesale is dissimilar from Costco. So Costco allows the retail sale of goods. Wholesale is purely business to business. And before the 2019 zoning code, wholesale was previously allowed through zones that the city does not have currently, or in what is now a C3. For example, it incorporated commons on Elmore and a suburban landscape at 3602, which are currently not conforming wholesale establishments operating in the city. Some concerns staff have, outdoor storage may have adverse effects, and at times C3 does abut residential districts, so those property lines may be together. Some things that do help with that, or that alleviate staff concerns. C3 does come with design guidelines, so I try to summarize them here in a somewhat more digestible fashion. And that facades along right-of-ways cannot contain blank walls. They must have identifiable public entrances like you would at a large box store. Ground level must have 35% transparency, which means windows must be along the facade in some manner. Roof line may vary 100 feet, and they must conceal HVAC or other mechanicals, similar to what we do for Walmart and others. Staff recommend that we move this forward to City Council, that it does conform with our comprehensive plan, that it will not produce any ill effects for the community. However, we do have a couple conditions. We want to add some principal use standards, and we'll go over the principal use standards in the next slide. First one is that the principal use and any associated accessory use should not emit dust, odors, gas, pollution, and shall not emit excessive noise or vibrations. We're not sure what's going to be stored outside, so we just want to cover our bases. The storage of aggregate material shall be prohibited, so that's going to be gravel, rocks, just, again, things that are gonna create dust. And then the following apply to all outdoor storage. Storage area must be completely enclosed by a solid fence or a wall, with a minimum of 6 feet in height, including egress and egress. That means the gate must also be solid. Fences or walls shall meet principal use setback requirements, so the same way the building was constructed, we want the same standards applied to that wall. Outdoor storage of any kind is prohibited outside that fence, so we don't want to see parking spaces being used as storage, though the parking could be retrofitted.
You have a question?
I have a question. Are we going to have anything on,
Can you speak up a little louder? We can't, you're looking that way.
Yeah,
We
I
can't
know.
hear you.
Are we going to have anything on bulk hazardous materials, especially if they're by a residential area?
So the best way I could answer that is the fire marshal would still regulate all hazardous materials. Are you speaking specifically outdoors, or are you thinking
Well, you
just
have
in general?
Well, you have to look at, I mean, I know that there's a lot of standards on it, but when you're getting by a residential area, and if you have a lot of bulk storage, it can be inside. And it's not uncommon for them not to store them correctly, and they're not going to be inspected all the time. You have to worry about, especially a residential area that might be adjacent to it. So I don't know if we want to have something limiting the, hazardous materials. I'm thinking like flammable, or if they have major spills. Those are some big ones. And the reason I bring this up is because I've had to deal with that. What happens if you have these major spills or you have an explosion and you have to know how far out you could have issues? So I'm thinking residential when you have a warehouse. I mean, do we want to limit the types of products they store? I mean, I don't want to get down to specifics, but you
Yeah.
could get down to, there's a difference, there's definitions of combustible and flammable. So you could look at the different definitions, and the fire marshal can maybe do that. But I would consider, or at least limit those types of materials next to residential areas. And it's just a thought. It happens more than we like to think.
Do you want to discuss amongst yourselves?
Anybody have any comments? This is kind of a free-for-all, so you just raise your hand.
I mean, I
and
think the same thought
Go
is
for it.
that this would be the fire marshal's
Correct.
responsibility.
The reason I bring it up is the fire marshal is not the end all. I mean, I've dealt with this kind of material, and the fire marshal isn't there most of the time. They don't always know.
Can you give us some examples of what you're talking about?
They could be storing large quantities of paint. That's a really good one. We've had major explosions. You could have solvents. Depending on the type of solvents you could have different types of alcohols, which are industrial. You could have, fertilizer. And you could have multiple types of things that interact with each other. And so you have to, yes, the fire marshal can have it, but to be honest with you, OSHA is more involved in that than the fire marshal.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm gonna steal your idea.
No, it's
How is
perfect.
that different than what already could be sold in those businesses?
Like Lowe's?
Because they don't,
Current zoning.
but they don't have the
Ours.
bulk. It's the bulk storage, that changes everything. So like, if I went to one of our warehouses, we have a lot more volume than we have in smaller areas. Its volume is everything.
I guess my thing is that the owners of those facilities that manage those type of products also do not want major explosions or
Correct.
spills. And therefore would, hopefully, I know accidents happen, but hopefully, follow all the guidelines so that such wouldn't be.
And the reason I bring it up is because most of them in the warehouses are unaware. I'll be honest with you, they are unaware. I mean, I've done audits and inspections, and I'm going to tell you, that's,
Pat, have we had explosions in the Quad Cities? That I've lived here my whole life.
we've had them
I thought of
we've had them
Robin Hood
at
as the
Deer.
only one I
We've had some
remember.
explosions at Deer.
At Deer.
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Yes, we have.
Okay, I think it's a very valid point. My question for staff is, how close, how are the zoning districts, this intensive zoning district, how close are they typically to a residential
Yeah, that would be.
zoning? And I guess,
Once you get out.
I'm pretty sure R1, R2, they're far enough away. My concern would be where the multifamily is allowed.
Sure,
Is
and that would be the most
that
likely
common?
one. And
Could we limit the distance to something like that instead?
from residential
Or at least have a distance?
for outdoor storage of hazardous materials.
Just for wholesale warehouse? I mean,
Well, that's, I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say, is that possible?
Go to the zoning.
And that should impact the entire zoning code, then, in my opinion,
Right.
anything.
Yeah, we have warehouses next to residential too.
I'm sorry, what's
We
that?
have warehouse buildings next to residential as well, over here in the West End.
And that's my question right now, is how, what does that proximity look like? And is this something bigger than just this amendment?
I'm just throwing it out there, I'm not, it's just something to consider.
Just go to the building.
Question. One of the hazardous things I think about is fireworks. What is
I
the
see.
standard for fireworks, which is obviously not in
You
those
have to get a
things?
permit from the city, and that's heavily regulated by the fire marshals.
So again, the storage, they need a permit for the storage of hazardous material, such as paint, fertilizer, that sort of thing, I don't know.
Answer. So, just for reference, when we have potential users for warehouse buildings of any type, typically the fire marshal comes out and inspects the building to make sure it's going to be a sprinkler system. Most of these buildings all have a sprinkler system to house anything, even a pallet anymore. And the fire marshal comes out to make sure the sprinkler system's up to date and the product being housed is adequate for the building that it's.
Hang on just a second, we need to have you introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, Thagden Hartog,
There you go.
commercial realtor with Mel Foster Commercial, old Mel Foster Commercial. I'm also petitioner of Leverage.
Thank you, Thad. Sorry, I didn't.
See, we have introduction problems on our end.
It appears as though you-
I'll bring up a scenario that's actually, because I've dealt with them a lot. The fire marshal doesn't come into all of our warehouses. He might come in once in a great deal. But his perspective will be different. Who's really good is usually your insurance carrier, who will look at the type of containers that material is in changes what type of sprinkler system you need. Even oils, we've had problems with that. If the sprinkler system, because if they're in the plastic containers, they're very difficult to put out.
I have a thought. Might need a little bit of input from the real estate perspective. Could we say that in C3 districts, that outdoor storage, because here's a scenario that you kind of brought to my mind that I don't really want to see in C3. So, can't remember the name of the gas company, but they're doing their bulk sale of their gas and diesel up in an industrial park over by Mount Joy right now. They're installing those tanks. Don't really want that in C3. That would be problematic to me to have that in C3. So,
Are you talking above ground tanks?
above.
Yeah,
They're really-
I wouldn't see how you would be able to get above ground tanks in C3, correct?
Container.
Yeah. So is it, you said there's a difference between flammable and combustible,
There is.
okay? Is this a big enough issue that we need to circle back on it? I don't know what kind of timeline,
Okay, prefer not.
prefer not,
Nope. I
okay.
mean, the whole idea was to try to get it
by the
done
end of the
within a
year.
year. So,
I guess I kind of look at it like a Menards or a Lowe's. They have a lot of quality of paint, they have fertilizer, they have all of those things under one roof. And whether it's at the garden center or inside, and those buildings are sprinkled,
and those buildings are along interstates predominantly, you're typically going to find more C2 next to apartment complexes or residential and not so much C3.
Okay.
So I think if we were looking at C2, it would be a bigger issue. But we still have some old grocery stores that are C2 that are near residential. But most of the C3 you'll find along the I-74 corridor or along 53rd Street where Costco is and what have you. And that's the thing, with most of these Costco's, Menards, and what have you, yes, they sell retail to the public, but they also, majority of their business is business to business. It's coming out the back door more than the front door, believe it or not.
I'm just thinking of bulk containers. I'm
Yeah.
not thinking small.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that won't be an issue unless there's someone who wants a closer warehouse and they bring in big bulk. And when I talk tanks, I'm not talking tanks that you pump in. Most of them come in these big plastic totes. They're
like
On a pallet.
They're huge.
They're on a pallet. Yeah. Plastic
A lot of them
pallet.
aren't even on a pallet.
Okay.
They're huge. And that's how they would sail to,
So you're thinking, so like,
I mean,
there's a difference to you between like, hey, I need to refill my propane tank for my gas grill.
Yes, there's a big difference. And maybe that's not an issue. I mean,
what about like the outdoor storage of bulk hazardous material is prohibited in C3? Like with bulk though, I don't know how to answer that question.
usually I think bulk would probably be like 100-gallon totes. I mean, they're very large.
Could you just prohibit it in areas where the residential is within a certain
That's what I'm
distance?
saying.
So like the outdoor storage of bulk hazardous
necessarily.
materials
But you're not gonna
prohibited
allow
within
any
like
outdoor
100
storage.
feet of a residential district or something like that?
Yeah, it's allowed.
Oh, I thought it's.
We've kind of gotten a little bit off track. Matt, are you done with your presentations? So
That
then-
is largely, yes.
I just want to make sure you're done. I want the petitioner to be able to speak on what their plan is, what their approach is, and then we can circle back to what we're discussing.
Yes, we're done with our presentation.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Would the petitioner like to identify yourself and speak as
Sure.
to?
Thagton Hartog, I'm the manager of Leverage Holdings, also commercial realtor with Mel Foster Commercial and Mel Foster Commercial. Been practicing commercial real estate in the Quad Cities for 27 years. I guess the main reason for this is our industrial market has changed significantly over the last 3 to 5 years. You'll see a much needed new supply of industrial buildings that have gone up, and the cost of that has gone up as well. When we were out looking at big block space, you'll find that the large warehouse users, for someone who's distributing wholesale items, is above the cost of what it would be to rent an old grocery store. And we've got these older buildings that are sitting there that would work just fine for distribution of wholesale products, with less customer traffic on the front door, and less intrusive than what you would see as a retail operation. And bluntly put, the retail industry is significantly changing and continuing to change. I guess one example that comes to my mind is there shouldn't have been any good reason that we tore down the Toys R Us building at Brady and Kimberly. That was a very nice 50,000 square foot building block, sprinkled. And we had it shown many times for wholesale operations and couldn't use it for that. There's a lot of good reuses for our existing building stock that are marked ineligible because of the zoning, and zoning doesn't allow. We don't need to be a community where everything's under demolished and not underbuilt. We need to be able to reuse this and make it more attractive to people, because these block old grocery stores, old Walmarts, old name it, retail stores are good, functional, high-ceiling buildings that can be used. A good example would be in Bettendorf, where the Linco Products was, the old Hobby Lobby store. Great reuse of that building. And it was money reinvested into an area that looks much better rather than a rundown old retail storefront that sits vacant for 5 to 10 years. And that's what we're trying to do here.
That I think about the Walmart in O'Rourke, same kind of situation.
Correct.
And Thad,
Thank you.
can I
Go ahead,
ask a
Laura.
question to Thad real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. In your experience, what do you see generally as the most needed in terms of wholesale? Is it more along the hazardous material
No.
side, or is it just general goods product?
General goods products, those other uses such as that would be directed by their insurance company to find something more suitable. I don't think that the insurance carrier for those users would even insure them on a building like that, to be honest with you.
And that would be my question.
Yeah, it would be really hard for them to get insurance. Insurance is already harder and harder to get every year. So,
Do you think they have a criteria to stay a certain distance away from residential?
I just don't see that as an issue.
Okay.
These buildings are high ceilings, they're heated, they're rooftop unit, heated and cool, it's good for product storage, I mean, and the amount of traffic that comes in and out for a wholesale use is a tenth of what a retail operation is.
Why don't we put in there for general use products, and if they choose to do anything hazardous, then they have to have special permission?
Special use permit?
Yeah, I mean, why don't we do it that way?
Then the question is how you define it.
Yeah, how do you define it?
What's within the current zoning that regulates what can be in the C3? I mean, other than the fire marshal in general, is there any specific thing within C3 zoning that limits what can be in it? Or, I mean, could the retail outlet right now sell the same stuff? I realize maybe not in the same quantity, but I mean, every single different item has a different quantity of what would be considered dangerous.
And to add to that, though, if it was pre-existing before 2019, it could do it anyway.
Correct.
Because that was
Right.
allowed.
They're already.
So, I mean, there's another problem, paradigm problem.
Yep, and just for your reference, things like fireworks are allowed in any commercial district, both indoor and outdoor sale. I mean, and they're heavily regulated in terms of the pyrotechnics, like they're inspected by the fire marshal or the state fire marshal in those. And I understand you're concerned 100%, but I don't know if there's a great way within zoning code to regulate that without completely dismantling. I would be worried about creating more nonconformities than we currently have if we start doing the hazardous material regulation piece of it. Now, what I can say is I would like to keep this moving, and I think that's the request of the petitioner. We can continue to have dialogue through council and have that conversation continue with the fire marshal if the commission is willing to let us do that and continue the process along.
I can appreciate that thought, Laura. I mean, I would stand behind that.
Okay.
Are there any more thoughts, concerns, questions? Hearing none. Final call. Commissioner, any final comments? Roll call, please. Commissioner Tomlin?
Dunlop,
Yes.
Eichelberry,
Yes.
Hefner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Tomlin, yes. Manus,
Yes.
Garrington,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
and Schneider.
Yes.
Motion passed.
I would appreciate, Laura, if you and your staff would continue this conversation and
Absolutely.
even keep us up to date at future meetings.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much. That will conclude the discussion on ORD 25-03 and conclude any new business in zoning. We'll move on to subdivision activity. First item is case F25-13 is a request of Elmore Storage LLC for a final plat of Jersey Farms Commercial Park, 5th Edition, The two-lot subdivision is located at 6403 Elmore Avenue on 13 acres in Ward 6. Staff recommends the Plan and Zoning Commission accept the listed findings and forward case F25-13 to the City Council with a recommendation for approval subject to the 3 findings and 4 conditions, and I would so move.
Second.
Okay.
Matt, go ahead. Or Laura.
I don't care. I'll do it. I don't get to talk to you guys very often. So this is a previously subdivided lot where Elmore Storage is kind of set back a little bit from Elmore Avenue over by the Cross Creek Apartments. It's a 13-acre site. The storage facility was developed in 2015. It doesn't have traditional street frontage. It's provided through a 50-foot ingress-egress easement through the adjacent property. And the purpose of this subdivision is to create a developable lot separate from the storage facility. Currently zoned C3, this went through a rezoning a few years ago when we rezoned it to Elmore Corners, even though it wasn't part of the Elmore Corners plan. A comprehensive plan has it as regional commercial. Here's the plat for you. It's a 2-lot subdivision. They would extend the ingress-egress easement north-south to lot 1 to continue that over. In terms of staff recommendation, we recommend that Commission accepts the listed findings and forward the case to Council with the following conditions. That the surveyor signs the plat, that the utility provider sign the plat when their easement needs have been met, that a note is added stating stormwater detention is required for this addition per city code. So basically this means that there's already stormwater present and references what that is from a previous subdivision. And then stormwater quality treatments required in the subdivision and will be located and owned by within the subdivision and owned and maintained by the business owner or association. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Laura. Is the petitioner present? Or
I'm here.
would you like to identify yourself?
Brandon Hartog, owner of Elmore Storage.
Nice to meet you.
I guess the reason for this subdivision is pretty simple. We got caught up and started this project in 2015 where storage was allowed in C3, and we got caught up. It was originally set up to be done in phases. So the first phase was 6 acres, we have 7 acres left. We got caught up in the Elmore Corners overlay district, and our original site plan was no longer allowed. So we had to come back through P&Z for our site plan to continue our storage process because we always did it in phases. And at that time, COVID hit because we were 5 years in, and building costs went up, and it was no longer financially feasible to build these buildings. And our original market rents we established weren't met on the first phase, so it made it impossible on the second phase. We don't feel that any longer that we will be developing any more storage units on this site just because economics don't allow. We're going to subdivide this lot and figure out something to do with your approval to there that makes more sense and could be financially feasible. So we don't see a second phase of Elmore Storage ever happening.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of the petitioner or staff?
No.
Final call? Seeing none, roll call please. Thank you. Mr. Den Hartog?
Thank you.
Eichelberry.
Yes.
Hefner.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Smolinus. Manus.
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
And Dunlap.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That concludes case F25-13. We'll move on to case F25-14. Is the request of Dan and Sandy Gaiman for a final plat of DNS Gaiman Edition. The 3-lot subdivision is located at 4104 Telegraph Road on 8.44 acres in the first ward. Staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Commission accepts the listed findings in forward case F25-14 to the City Council with a recommendation for approval, subject to the 3 findings and 4 conditions, and I would so move.
Second.
Matt or Laura?
All right, thank you. So we have the subject property highlighted in red off of Telegraph Road. The blue squiggly line on the bottom left is Blackhawk Creek on the south side of Telegraph. It's an 8.84 acre site, currently with 1 single family home. And the purpose would be to create 2 additional residential lots. It is currently zoned R1, single family, and the future land use map has it as residential general. So this is turned on its side, so north will be to your left. It has, this is because, this is lot 3 and 2. This area over here has the existing driveway for the existing single-family home, and then there's an additional 40 feet on this side that has all of the utility connections from Telegraph on the other side. So that's why it kind of has a double pole on a flag lot. So staff recommends that commission accept the listed findings and forward to council with a recommendation for approval. And then the conditions are that the surveyor sign the plat, the utility providers sign the plat when their easement needs have been met, that a 15-foot utility easement is added along Telegraph Road, and that a note be added stating that stormwater detention and water quality will not be required as part of the subdivision, but will be acquired upon further development of the property. And that's all I had.
Thank you, Laura. Is the petitioner present?
Yes, sir.
Would you please identify yourself?
I'm Luke Miller with Klinger and Associates, land surveyor. And Laura presented the whole case very well.
Thank you.
If you have any questions.
Laura, I know you're going to throw a brook at me, but this is, I drove down here to look at this. I drive Telegraph fairly often. I drive Rockingham down in the West End. It's pretty simple to, and I'm not directing this at your relationship or the developer itself, but it's not unusual to find a 1,500 square foot house, maybe 1,000 square foot house, that you could put 3 of those houses in a building. Is there any way to put a condition on here that limits the size of an outbuilding? Because I see it all the time. People build a new house on 2 or 3 or 5 acres, and next thing you know, there's a huge building that's been built that isn't permitted. It just pops up and nobody knows, and nobody from the city is going to tell them to tear it down. I need to see a way that we can start regulating this better.
I don't think legally speaking you can add a restriction like that onto a subdivision. I can double check. But in terms of, I know that we've talked about this before.
Ever since you've come on board.
Yeah. And so if they are throwing up, there's a few exceptions to this rule, but if they are throwing up outbuildings, I know that you've caught a couple of them, they're doing them without permits. Because the large outbuildings, unless it's an ag building, is not, in an ag district, it's not permitted. So I would say as soon as you see things, call it in, and we will enforce. It's the sooner
But
the
again,
better.
that puts the onus on me or
I know.
anybody else driving around, and to me, that's not right. The city should enforce the rules that they've got, and I don't know why that can't be a condition, that that property owner knows, or that person buying a house there knows that 5 years from now, they can't just throw up this massive building, because anybody can go to Menards now and buy a 40 by 60 building, and most people with any construction knowledge could pour a slab and put it up themselves. It doesn't take a general contractor anymore to put these buildings up. They're sold regularly everywhere. It just makes it so easy for a homeowner to violate our city ordinance.
Yeah.
And I
It's
don't know
the-
why you can't have a condition. You can check with legal.
I can check with legal. It would be the equivalent of the same thing that's in our zoning code.
Yep.
I don't know how much good it's going to do to add it onto the subdivision plat.
Well,
And my
least the
point with that, I
person-
mean, it's the same rules we have, I mean, it already exists as a rule, it's just people ignoring the rules,
Yeah.
right? I mean, people choosing to not follow rules, and then I don't know what teeth the city has to go after somebody that's not following the
I
rules.
mean,
but-
it-
Yeah, right, but I mean, they go around inspecting all the time, I mean, they see what they see, just like we see what we see, but I don't, yeah, I mean, I agree, I understand Bob's concern completely, I just don't know how do you go after the problem any more rigorously than already exists.
Great. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. I'll just add that I understand it is a concern. I like people to follow the rules too. I have many of clients that that's what they want is a 40 by 60 building in their backyard.
Right.
I know. Separate from that, I have a question in regards to the petition. I'm just curious, so will there be two then new access on Telegraph? And
Yes.
okay. That's just, okay. They were gonna have their own drive. Okay.
Will
That's all.
will that come back to us then, since there's no access drawn in here?
No, they would just have it directly from Telegraph Road, so it would be just a driveway.
Understood. But I also remember a subdivision that was talked about on Wisconsin, out on the north side of Interstate 80 that had 40-some houses, and they wanted 20-some driveways on Wisconsin in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. And we turned that down. You know, I just didn't know if there's additional oversight that needs to be done as to where they can put a driveway.
So engineering reviewed the subdivision, didn't raise that as a concern.
Okay, well, that's fine.
So it is R1, so I don't remember exactly how wide these lots are, but the minimum's 100 feet. So the separation is probably greater than, I don't know for sure which one you're referring to. But
It was pre-Laura.
pre-Laura time. Yeah, and no one from engineering brought that up as a
Okay,
concern.
that's fine.
And maybe it's the density, maybe it's because it's only 2 additional lots, maybe that's part of it. They would still have to follow all of the SUDAC separation requirements for those lots.
I'm good with it then.
Okay.
Any additional questions from commission? Mr. Dunlap, or Commissioner Dunlap? I can't see you, but, oh, I thought you had a question.
I do not. Thank you.
Commissioner Garrett?
Just a question, these are both 1 acre or less?
They are, I think that they are
One of them's 101 and the other one's .75.
So they're
Yeah,
under.
and they're built to they're large enough that in theory they could be septic. There is sanitary sewer along Blackhawk. It's quite especially from lot 3, the furthest east one, it probably not really very likely that would be a septic. Current house is on septic, but they would meet the size requirements by the county to do that if they needed to.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't know if it helps or not. My client says they're gonna build their own house on one of the newly created lots, and the other house is gonna be sold to their son or daughter, and I can't remember which one. So they're creating an additional lot to sell, but they're creating one of the lots to build on. That was their intent when they approached me.
So they're not planning on using a single septic field, just there'll be 2?
No, yes, that would be true.
Yeah, it would be new. So the one to the, lot number 2 could technically get to a sanitary sewer line if they really wanted to. Lot 3 might be more difficult, but.
Thank you. Any final questions? Seeing none, roll call please. Commissioner Thomas?
Kevner.
Yep. Oops, yes.
I was gonna say, how you doing? How you done that?
Yep.
You. Johnson.
Yes.
Tallman, yes. Manus.
Yes.
Garrington.
Yes.
Schilling.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Dunlop.
Yes.
Engelberg.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner Tallman. That concludes discussion and vote on F-25-14, which also concludes our subdivision activity Any future business, Laura?
No, we don't. So it looks, I will confirm via email, but it looks like we will not be having our November 18th meeting.
Okay, any communications, anybody? Seeing none, other business? Seeing none,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor of adjournment, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same side. We are adjourned, thank you for your attention.